Okay, so today we're going to look at fractions of amounts. So we've dealt with fraction of a fraction already. Fraction of another fraction. So 3/4 of 2/5 is going to be less than 2/5 because it's 3/4 of it. Of in maths is the operation of multiplication. So we can just say 3/4 of 2/5. It's 3/4 multiplied by 2/5. Because it's going to get 2 times bigger, but it's going to get 5 times smaller, so it's going to get less. Now we can pre-simplify as always. If we have a multiplication like this, pre-simplifying multiplication, well, if I'm multiplying by 2, I can just see that I'm going to simplify a fraction of 2/4, I suppose. So multiplying, instead of multiplying by 2 divided by 4, I can just multiply by 1 and divide by 2. It's the same thing. So I pre-simplify to make my multiplication easier, or I can post-simplify, multiply as normal, and simplify at the end. 3 times 1 gives 3, and 2 times 5 gives 10, and that is how we get a fraction of a fraction. Now, if we're looking for a fraction of amount, is that the same process? Well, fraction of amount is useful when we come to ratios and proportions, which we'll be doing next. And when we do pie charts, so 360 degrees, which is what we're looking at later on in the year. But 2/5 of $20 can be done 2 ways. We can do it as a fraction, because it's 2/5 of, which is multiply, 20, which is just a whole number. 20 over 1. And then I can just deal this as if it was 2 fractions once again. If I want, I could pre-simplify by dividing 5 in here and 5 in here. Okay? And 2 times 4 on top goes 8, and 1 times 1 is 1, 8 over 1, so 8 over 1 is 8. Alright. Does that make sense? If I have $20, if I gave 2/5 of them to someone, how many dollars will I give? Well, if I made $20 out, okay, so $20 done out there. Apologies for the slowness. Mr. Gibson popped in as well. So there's $20, and I want to split them up into fifths. I'm going to give 2 of those fifths away. So let's split them up into fifths. So how many would be here? Well, I need to split it up into, see how many is in a fifth. So to get a fifth of something, I would divide it by 5. Okay, so if I do 20 dividing by 5, I get, well, that's 4. Okay, so every $4 is a fifth. So there's 4, there's another 4, there's another 4, there's another 4, and I have 4 here at the end. Okay, so that's my split them up. And I want to give 2/5 away. So, well, if I do continue with my multiplication here, if I want to do 2 times that amount, like 8, and even look at my visual representation, 2/5 would be one of these fifths, another, okay, so that's $8. Now, by doing this method, I've created another method, which is dividing by the denominator, 5, and multiplying by the numerator, 2. This is another method, and that's used a lot in fractions of amounts and ratios especially. So I'll use it for this question. If I want to get 3/8 of 360, instead of doing this method with the fractions, I'm going to divide just by 8 and multiply by 3. So 360, I'm going to divide it by 8, the denominator, and then I'm going to multiply it by the numerator in a second. So 360 divided by 8, well, I know that 8 fits into 36 4 times. I can do a little rough work over here if I want. 8 fits into 36 4 times, of course. For this type of question, you can use a calculator. 4 times, so that'd be 32, which is 4 left remainder over, so the next unit column 8 into 40 goes 5 times, so that's 45. Now if that was a pie chart, that'd be 45 degrees if we were drawing it, but that comes later on in the year. 45 degrees is 1/8. That is 1/8 only, but I want to have 3/8. So I got to get that 3 times bigger now. And 3 times 45, 2 times 45 would be 90. 45, 45, and another 45 is 135 degrees in this case, so I keep that unit. So you see what happens with this method is you always get it back. So if you're dealing with eighths, you get back to 1/8. If you're dealing with fifths, you get back to 1/5. Quarters, you get back to 1/4 by dividing by that denominator. And then you can multiply by whatever you want after that to find out that particular part of the fraction. Alright? So that is fractions of amounts. 3 methods.